Hi guys. So last time we learned about the law of cosi. Let me just put LOC in here for law of cosi. And it tells us that a square equals to b squared plus c squared, a part of the Pythagorean theorem. And then to balance it out, we also have minus 2bc. And because this is the law of cosi, then we also have cosi of a. And I told you guys the trick to memorize this thing is that if you try to find a little a in here, then you have to end up with angle A in here, okay? And in between, B and C are the thing that you like the thing that you haven't mentioned, okay? And because we have to balance it out from the equation, that's why we have minus in here. And because we have two letters for B and C, that's why we have a 2 in here for B and C, okay? And similarly, we have another formula for B squared, and we also have another formula for C squared, okay? And then it's really easy to derive them. And from here, we can apply this formula to the case of SAS. For example, if we were to have, say, little b in here and little c, and we also know angle A in here. And to solve for the triangle, we can use this formula right here to solve for our little a in here. So let me put it in blue. We can solve for our little a in here, but make sure you take the square at the end because we have the square in here. So it's going to look like this for A, okay? And after that, if we want to solve for the angle, either B or C in here, we can derive from this formula to solve for cosine of A. So we have something like cosine of A equals to B squared plus C squared minus A squared all divided by 2BC, okay? So chances are you only need to memorize the first formula. You only need to memorize this formula in green in here. The other formula, you can derive it from the original formula, okay? So don't waste your time to memorize it. I mean, if you want, you can do that. Just go ahead and memorize as many as you can, but you should also know the reason behind the formula, right? And from here, so this formula in here is meant to solve for angle A. If we use the same strategy, we can go ahead and solve for angle B by using by having cosine of B equals to A squared plus C squared minus B squared all divided by 2AC. And I told you guys, if we know two angles out of the 3 in a triangle, to figure out the last angle in here, we're gonna do triangle sum, which tells you that angle C equals to 180 degrees minus angle A and minus angle B, okay? So at this point, don't blindly go ahead and just apply the law of cosine for the last angle. It's not worth it, okay? And another case we also have is the case of SSS. So let me put this one in yellow. This case is SAS, right? And aside from that, we also have the case of SSS, where we know all the sides in here. So this is little b, this is little a, and this is little c, right? And then we have to find on the angle, which are A, B, and C. Okay, actually, you know what? I messed up a little bit in here. So in terms of symbol, this should be the other way around. So let me go ahead and fix this up. So across from this one, we will have psi little c, and this would be little b. And same things in here. We're going to have this being little b, and then this is little c. Okay, so sorry for that. And in this case in here, since we have to find all 3 angles, so we're going to go ahead and apply. Let me highlight the formula in yellow. So we would have to use these formula in here to solve for the angle. But make sure whatever you got in here from the right hand side is only the cosine value of the angle that we're looking for, okay? It's not your final answer. In fact, it's not even your angle, right? So don't stop in there. Make sure you always have to do cosine inverse. Backtrack a little bit using the pen in here. So make sure you do cosine inverse of whatever you have for this circle in here, for example. Let me just put that circle in there, okay? And that will be your final answer, okay? And again, whenever you know 2 of the 3 angles inside a triangle, make sure you apply the triangle sum in here. So let me highlight it in blue. Make sure you don't just blindly apply the law of sine or law of cosine at the last angle, okay? It's not worth it, okay? And the takeaway from this one is that make sure you remember the three cases for law of size, and for the law of cosine, you're going to have two more cases, which are SAS, and the other case would be SSS, okay? So make sure you remember which case is which and like which law is applied for which, okay? And let's talk about today's topic. Today we're gonna learn about the area of a triangle. So back in the day, like in long time ago, we all know that the formula for the area of a triangle is a half of base times height, right? And in here, let me put it in black. So the h in here, the height would be like the distance from one vertex to the other base. Okay, it has to be like from the vertex. So this one in here is not the height. This one in here is not the height. Okay, we only have one height, which is this one. Okay, if you want, you can like draw another height coming from the outer vertex. So it's gonna look like this. If only I extend like the outer side. And the last height in here, if I were to extend the outer side, I'm gonna have this height being like this, okay? But let me take all of these away before you kind of like know it or like get it into your head. So for example, to make it easy, let's stick with the height in here coming from this vertex in here, and B in here would be the base. So the base will be the opposite side to the vertex. Okay, and the height would be the gap or the distance between the vertex's opposite side. Okay, and the formula for the area in here, it will be area equals to 1/2 base times height. Okay, so the half is always there. The derivation is really kind of like cute too if you want to learn about it. So just imagine you start with a rectangle, right? And then you split it in halves. Then you will notice that a right triangle is actually a half of any rectangle, right? And from there, that's how we come up with the formula of 1/2 base times height, because we know that the area of a rectangle or of any parallelogram equals to base times height. And then since a rectangle is double area as of the triangle, that's why we have to cut it in half. So let me just put it in like pictures so it's easier for you guys to follow. So just imagine we start up with like a rectangle like this, okay? And then you cut it in halves. Okay, let me highlight this one in, I don't know, blue. This area in here, it turns out to be a triangle, right? And more specifically, it's a right triangle. Let me put the symbol of right triangle in here. Why is it right triangle? Because it's kind of like inherited from the rectangle, because the rectangle always have like 4 right angles, right? And then we know that the area for the rectangle is base times height, where base would be this side in here, like the width, and the height in here. Oh no, the base would be the length, which is this one. So let me just put base in here, and the height would be the width in here because it's like the standing side. Okay, so this one is the area formula for the rectangle, right? But the triangle is only half as much as a rectangle, right? That's why we put the half in here. And if you compare this formula to the one that we have, they look exactly the same, right? So that's kind of like the motivation, the derivation behind the formula of the triangle. And I would refer this way to geometric way, because this is what we know by getting the area of a rectangle and then split it in halves to get the area of a triangle, right? So it's like more of like geometry taste. Today, we're going to learn 2 more powerful ways to find the area of a triangle, okay? And for each of the way in here, we're going to talk about the case of SAS and the case of SSS. If you guys recall it, these are the 2 cases that we handle in using the law of cosine in the last previous section, right? In the 9.3, if you guys recall it. So let's talk about the first case in here. So my question is, how can we find the area of a triangle if we don't know anything about its altitude? Okay, like if we don't know anything about the height. Okay, we know the basis, but we don't know anything about the height. Any of the 3 heights, any of the 3 altitudes. How can we find the area in there? knowing that the formula is like 1/2 base times height. We only know the base. We don't know anything about the height. How can we do that, right? So the first case, let's talk about a case of SAS in here. So if the problem gives us something like little a, little b, and big C, that's why we call it SAS, right? How can we find the area of this triangle? For this specific case, we will learn this formula. The area equals to 1/2 A times B times side C, okay? So the trick in here is that if you notice, the angle in here is always in between the two given side, right? So all you need to do is to grab the sides, multiply to each other. After that, multiply to the side value of the angle, of the given angle in between the two sides, okay? And after that, the feature, one special feature about a triangle is a half. That's why putting all together, we're going to have 1/2 A times B times side of the angle in between, which is C. Okay. To me, this one is also kind of like easy to remember because it's like like from the area of the triangle, we know that we have to multiply two sides anyways, and then the half is always there for the triangle. That's why the half kind of like stays there, and then AB, like the sides stay there also. But then since none of A or B are the height, right? Like we're not talking about the right triangle. We're talking about oblique triangle in here, where the triangle doesn't have to be right? It could be anything that you want to. It could be an obtuse triangle. It can be a acute triangle, scalene triangle, anything that you want to. So then either A or B, neither A or B is my right, like hypotenuse or like the base or height, right? So that means we have to attach the angle in here because it's also given, right? And I told you guys if you haven't used up all the given data, there's something wrong with it. So that means you have to pull everything together, and then that's how we have this formula in here, okay? Another case where we're gonna learn about today is the case of SSS. This one is a typo. I'm gonna fix it, but this one ignore for now. It's just like SSS, okay? And this case in here, the problem will give us like all the measure of the three sides in here. So we know little a, little b, and little c, and we have to find the area of the triangle, okay? So notice that, don't trip over my mistake. I used to think that, oh, whenever you see like the triangle like this, I have to solve for the triangle. No, it really has to depends on the problem. The problem in here is asking us to find the area only, right? So we're not going to try to solve the triangle. You don't have to find big A, big C, and big B in this case. All you need to find is the area of the triangle, okay? So please, in the test and in the quizzes, make sure you read the problem carefully. Don't just always jump into the problem and solve for the entire triangle. It's not like what you need to do sometimes, okay? So make sure you read the question before you do it. And in the case of SSS in here, what do we do is that we will have to apply the Heron's formula in here. You guys will see the name like Heron later on, but for now, just know that the formula for the Heron's formula is tells us that the area equal to the square root of S times S minus A, S minus B, S minus C. Okay, so there would be like 4 versions of S in here. Okay, the first S is just like a single S, and then the other 3 in here is attached to like one of the side. Okay, so it goes like S minus A, and then S minus B, and then S minus C, so that you can use up like all the sides in here. Okay, and you're gonna ask me like, what is S, right? Like, why do we need S? What is S in here? In fact, S is half the perimeter. So if you're not familiar with like this symbol in here, A plus B plus C is the perimeter of a triangle, right? Like if you go around a triangle and add up all the sides, you're gonna get the fence around it, or like the perimeter around it. And then S in here, you just have to cut it in half because, as I told you guys, the special feature about a triangle is a half, right? And if you guys notice, there's no halves in here. There's no like 1/2 in here. So it has to be somewhere hidden in the formula, right? The half I'm talking about is this half. Okay, so again, you're gonna have a half in here, and it's like explicit in the first formula in the case of SAS, but in the case of SSS, where we have to use the Heron's formula, the half is hidden inside the S. So it's not like explicit in the formula, but it's implicitly implied like in the formula of S. Okay. And let's talk about examples to make more sense of what we just learned. So the first case in here, we're gonna talk about the case of SAS, and this one is the formula that I used in the example that I just quickly introduced you guys to the in the previous page. Besides that, we also have another formula for the angle A and the angle B. Okay, if you guys notice, they all look similar to each other. They all have the half in each of them, and then there's also like two given sides in there, and then the angle in between, and then you also have to use the function of psi in there to make the formula complete. Okay, and it depends on whatever the problem gives you to know which formula of the three you're gonna use. Okay. And just a heads up, make sure your calculators is in the degree mode. So again, for law of psi, law of cosine, and the area of a triangle, make sure your calculator is always in the degree mode. Okay, if you put it in radian mode or any different mode, you will get a different answer, which are wrong. Okay, so make sure it's in degree mode. Okay, so let's talk about the first example in here where we have psi B, psi C, and angle A, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a triangle like this, and after that I annotated. And notice that A in here, our angle A is 120, which is bigger than 90, right? So if you draw the triangle, make sure it's like slightly bigger than 90. Make sure it looks like a obtuse triangle. Don't just give me something like this. This is not like acceptable. Why? Because none of the angles in here, or here are 120, right? Like if you look at them, this one is acute, this one is also acute, and this one is also acute. What I mean by acute is that they all are less than 90, right? Like none of them could be 120. So don't give me a triangle like this. Make sure your triangle is acceptable, because in the test and the quizzes, I'm going to ask you guys to draw a triangle before you get to do your problem, like before you get to do the algebra. So make sure your triangle looks like reasonable, okay? And to find the area of the triangle in here, you just have to find like the right formula to plug in. Since we are given B and C in here, we're gonna use them up, and then the angle in between them would be A. So we put them all together, and then the special feature of the triangle is a half. That's why we attach it in here. Then we plug in numbers, and then we punch it into the calculator, and we get the answer. Okay. And make sure you guys know how I'm like really strict about a unit in here. So make sure you will attach a unit along. This one, we're talking about the area. That's why a square unit. It's not just unit anymore. It's square units. In case I don't give you anything about the unit in here. But for example, in the question, in the exam, if I give you something like, oh, B equals to like 4 centimeters, and then C equals to like 1 centimeter, something like this, then the final answer would look like 1.73 centimeters square. Okay, if it doesn't make sense, please let me know. Please email me or contact me to get to know more about this information, like about a unit, before the test comes. Okay, again, don't wait until the last minute to ask me for help. Okay, and as your turn, I want you guys to try this formula in here, this example in here. And just a quick setup in here for the area. Make sure you attach a 1/2, and then blah 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 in here based on the formula that given in here. Make sure you don't forget the 1/2 ever when it comes to the area of a triangle. Okay. And let's talk about the next topic when we have to deal with the case of SSS in here. I told you guys we're gonna have to use the Heron's formula. Here's a name for it, the Heron's formula. So the guy who, the mathematician who introduced, or like who invented, or who created this formula, his name is Heron, okay, or Heron. I'm not really good with the pronunciation, but I think they call it like Heron's formula. So it's like hero, but like Heron, you know. And the formula in here, it says that we're gonna have the square root of 4 version of S. So I know that it's kind of like hard to remember. There's like 4 S's in here, because triangle is more about like 3 triangles, right? I mean, like triangle is more about number 3, not number 4, right? But just remember that you always have to attach a little S in here. Why? Because it's weird. It's a new variable, right? Like we have A, we have B, and we have C in here. For Heron, we have another variable. We call it S. That's 4 of them, right? So make sure you have 4 S's in your formula. And for Heron's formula, make sure you also have the square root Make sure you don't forget to square root the value or the answer at the end, or else your answer will be wrong, okay? And again, what is S, right? S in here is half the perimeter. So S equals to 1/2 of the sum of A plus B plus C, okay? So just a heads up in here before you get to solve for the area of the triangle, you always have to solve for S first when it comes to the case of SSS. Okay, so what you do is that you have to add up all the sides and divide by 2. You get your S, and after that you plug into the formula right here. And then you do the algebra for it. Make sure you take the square root at the end, and then you call it an answer. Okay? And just another heads up is that make sure your calculator is also in degree mode in here. So again, whenever it comes to solving for a triangle, when it comes to use a lot of sides, lot of cosides, or the area of the triangle, make sure your calculator is always in the mode of degree. Okay, make sure you double check your calculator to make sure your calculator is either in degree mode or like radian mode. If it's were to be in radian mode, make sure you switch it back to degree mode, else your answer will be wrong. Okay. And just as I told you guys before, you always have to find S when it comes to the SSS case before you get to get the area. And if you think about it, SSS in here, it kind of like gives you the way to find the S first, right? Like S, it has something to do with S first before you get to do A for area, okay? That's like my quick trick to memorize like which step I should do. But yeah, if you don't have to like memorize it that way, of course. And let's talk about the first example in here when we are given 3 sides in here. So I annotate them. Our letter A would be 3. Letter B is another 3. And then letter C is 2. Okay. And again, don't solve for the triangle in here because the question is asking us to find the area of the triangle, not to solve for the triangle itself. Okay. So the way that we do it is that first we have to find the half perimeter of the triangle. So we're going to plug in the formula in here, we plug in the numbers, and then we end up having the answer, okay? So in the test, I would expect you guys to kind of like write it all out so that I know if you guys remember like the meaning of S. If you don't, I might minus like 1 or 2 points out of your like grade. And the unit in here, S in here, if you want, you can like call it unit or units in here because it's 4 like blur, so it has to be like 4 units, right? But it's not my concern because like it's not a final answer, so I'm gonna fudge it out. Like I'm gonna just like slightly gray on this one if you forget to put the word unit in here. But as the final answer, you must put the unit in there because it's the final answer, okay? So as for the step answer, unit or no unit, I'm okay with that. But as for final answer, you must put a unit in there, okay? And after you get the S in here, you also have to find the area of the triangle. So you're going to plug in the Heron formula, After that, you plug in the numbers. Make sure you take the square root, and then you get your final answer. And make sure you attach the unit in there. And because we're talking about area in here, so make sure you call it square unit. It's not unit anymore. It's not the perimeter. It's not the side length. It's not like the regular unit anymore. Area is coming with the square unit. Okay, so make sure you don't mess that up. And then as for your try, let's try this example in here where you also have like 3 given sides in here, and then you have to find the half perimeter first, and then after that you have to find the area secondly. And make sure you take the square root of whatever like you get, okay? Don't forget the square root in here. And in here for the half perimeter, because it's half, so make sure you attach the half in here before you like box the answer, like the step answer or anything. After you get the answer, make sure you write a unit in there. So say this is equals to like blah blah blah, and then the unit would be square unit, okay? And this whole thing would be your final answer, okay? If you have any concern or any problem with this, please let me know, okay? Let's see if we have more. Oh, we're done for today. Okay, this one is a short lesson, so I hope it's easy, but if it's not, please let me know. If you need like more practice problem or anything else, please let me know, okay? So thank you all for listening, and have a great day. Okay, bye-bye.